Hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilia, and today we'll be going over episode 9 of the Astra Lost in Space anime series. So then, we start off with a flashback of Kanata pleading with his father to train him again in field and track. So this flashback comes basically a bit after Kanata recovers from his mountain disaster. And this is where we get a bit of weird dialogue from his father, as he keeps talking about Kanata needing to preserve his great body, while holding a weird smirk/smile upon his face. And then we get Kanata waking up going, so that's what this all means. And then we get into speculation mode, as it's revealed to us, again, that Funi and quillerten are basically the same person. And Kanata suggested that they're all clones of their parents. And Zack helps this theory along by stating that, the pieces kind of do go together. You've got Zack's father, Jed, a man who is trying to study a way to transfer memories, which would essentially allow someone to swap into a younger body. Thus, they'll need a clone to do that. They need a doctor and a hospital to create the clones. Obviously, they got quillerten and Funi's mother, and a person to enroll the clones at a school without any problems happening. Ulga's father, the principal. And then obviously they'll have people that want to kind of the same thing, basically. They want to be rejuvenated. They want to be younger. So this is where we get the other crew members' relatives. So this, with the weird flashback that we had just a moment ago with Kanata's dad, would make sense, as it's very outspoken that Kanata needs to keep his body in good condition from his father's point of view. Plus, we had the mystery of Luca's father being involved with something a bit shady. Remember, we had that whole episode where it was talking about Ulga's brother basically catching on to something that Luca's father's done, or did. And then we had the whole press conference meeting after every parent met up at the school. So, we obviously have a connection there. And the visuals in this part of the episode of Jed and the other parents was a great addition to help add this eerie vibe to the whole conversation that we're having. We had this kind of sort of astral ghost-like sort of figure. It's appearing and holding over the shoulder of each of their own original. I found that to be great, and along with the music, which I presume it was the music and not my headphone going funny, it did add that kind of eeriness and that kind of spooky kind of vibe that they were trying to go for, I would imagine. And then something that I wasn't expecting happened. And that was the cloning to be confirmed straight away by the parents themselves. As we have Luca, Zack's, Ulga's, Funi and quillerten, and Kartina's parents, or parent I should say, because there's only one of them, in a VIP room discussing their plan that they had to clone themselves and to swap the bodies with the clones. However, the plan backfired, and thus a new plan was set in motion to kill off the clones, or to permanently dispose of them, by using that weird, odd sphere that we saw back in episode 1. So we now have a reason as to why the sphere attacked them. So we got the sphere that's involved, and now it wasn't just a freak accident that just occurred. So it leads to another question as to what is that sphere? Why is it there, and how did it get there? Did the principal plant it before arriving? That seems like a lot of work, so probably not the case, but I'm interested to find out later on. Okay, so we have the crew kind of speculating and going off on, could this be true? This can't be happening. And Ares herself is actually very confident that her mother would not be involved. And the fact that Aries' mother isn't currently present in the VIP room that we just saw, and the fact that she was the only one making a big deal out of the fact that the kids were missing, kind of states that she isn't involved in this. As well as the fact is, if we look at both characters of Aries and Aries' mother, Aries is rocking that 2 eye colour kind of thing, where her mother doesn't. And yes, I know they mentioned that Luca's father asked for adaptations to make Luca to be both male and female, so he can transcend the idea of gender or sex or something. But I can't see Aries' mother doing or asking for something like that. So I do think that Aries' mother isn't involved based on the information that we currently have, just from the anime itself. The emotion shown by all the crew was fantastic, as we get the characters discussing the idea of being clones and then being discarded, and then having this sudden realization that they were potentially never loved like a parent and child should be. All of the crew were rightly upset, and again, Quillerten wins the Emotional Overload Department Award because she just has a complete meltdown almost. She's one of the characters that shows the most emotion when it comes to being sad and upset and frustrated. And I like that about her character, but honestly, who could blame her in this situation? Again, we have Zach quoting Carniter's survival tips. I think it's survival tip number 2, as he helps Quillerten. And he says, getting up will let you stand up. And I am now only starting to realize how obvious these survival tips are. They are horribly kind of obvious, and it actually hurts to read them sometimes. I'm not going to lie. They're a bit cringy. But they're funny at the same time. So, the crew are going to make it back to surprise their parents and to get away from them. They want to become their own self a person, which me saying that just now was horrible in terms of basic English, but that's literally how they phrased it in the episode. And to do this, they're going to band together as they are technically a family. They've overcome so many trials and tribulations so far that, they've grown together. They've bonded together over the course of the last few episodes, or their journey, I should say. And however, despite learning all of this, the crew aren't feeling depressed, as we see Carniter being a good captain, checking in on his crew, making sure that they're all okay. And to his surprise, they're all focused on their goals. We got Ulga, who will pursue Luca's dad. We got Junha, who will pursue singing. And we've got Luca, who's going to learn more about himself. And what more, the crew feels like a massive weight has been lifted off their shoulders, as they now know the reason as to why most of them were treated so badly in their childhood. We have quite a lot of people who were adopted, raised by other people, not really loved by their parents, and now they know the reason is because they were clones. They kind of feel a weight has been lifted, and they're a bit more kind of understanding of their childhood and the troubles they had back then. And I really did like that, and some of the scenes that we saw were kind of great, and I was a bit upset that Carniter didn't talk to Aries in this scene, but, it is what it is. Finally, we break up the dark feelings of this episode and the sort of sad state, and we get some comedy, before the end shocker. And this comedic scene was meant to lift the crew spirits and the viewers as well. And honestly, it worked on me. I laughed quite a bit at this scene. Zach and Quillerten announce their engagement, and the whole crew reacts in just a positive and bright way, especially Aries, and the whole trying to read Zach's emotions was just really funny and over the top. We had these explosions after every word that he says with his kind of stone cold kind of expression look on his face. And we have this weird scene of the crew lying on the floor as if they're being attacked. It's like a kind of a manga battle that just, it's one of those pointless ones, but it's quite funny. Even Quillerten herself is on the floor, kind of unable to comprehend the emotional state or, anything that Zack is trying to come across as. It was great, it made me laugh, and then it transitioned nicely into the ending, which gives us Paulina coming into the scene as we see the final destination, not the movies, and she's confused as to why, well, Earth looks different to her, and it turns out that it's not actually Earth, as it's a planet called Astra, the planet in which all of our crew hail from, but Paulina doesn't know anything about it. She doesn't know what Astra is, and it seems like a planet that resembles Earth itself, hence to why none of the crew have actually mentioned Earth. And I said this in my last review, but it's also confirmed that none of them know what Earth is. So Paulina is kind of looking at this going, something's wrong. What's happening? Why is Africa or South Africa not there? And where's Earth gone? Why, we're in the wrong place, quick. And she's panicking and frustrated, and the crew are like, what are you on about? So what this means, I don't know. Well, I do, but from an anime point of view, I don't. But I'm very, very interested to find out. Hopefully, they handle this reveal nicely, and it is going to be quite a lengthy kind of explanation, but hopefully the payoff will be great, and it will all work out nicely. All in all, this was a great episode that had a lot of information within it, and it handled the serving of that information very well. The emotional aspect of this episode was fantastic, and the characters were great too, in showcasing emotion and just uplifting each other and banding together as a family. No highlights in terms of animation really, but it was still the great quality animation that we've come to know from this show thus far. And lastly, it's worth noting that it was brought to my attention last week, thanks to some of you viewers, that they've shifted some of the content around in the manga to the anime, and it looks like the anime doesn't really change much in terms of storytelling or progression as such. It's just that the manga, basically, all the information that we're told in this episode, apart from the Earth business, is before the dog tags and the whole cake in the face with gravitational boots comedic scene. So in the manga, you have all this information from this episode, then you have the dog tags, and then you have the comedic cake in the face, and then the Earth reveal. Obviously, anime, it's dog tags, into space, reveal, Earth. Get it? Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully not. Well, anyway. So, all in all, great episode. Go check it out if you haven't. But that's going to do it for this review. If you've enjoyed, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you'll have an amazing day. And I'll be catching you in the next one. Bye for now.